From the headquarters of the Guild of Champions, this is the Becoming Thin podcast, and I am your host, Chris Terrell, and welcome to another week of your weight loss quest. How did this last week go for you, champion? What new challenges did you encounter? But more importantly, what failure did you go through, and what lesson did you get from that failure? Come on now, don't let a perfectly good failure go by without you getting your lesson. That's your reward for your troubles, after all. Now, if you're new here, I've lost 125 pounds myself after an entire adulthood of chronic yo-yo dieting. Up, down, up again. Before they finally got sick and tired of being sick and tired and fat, and had decided to make some permanent, meaningful, and actual changes to my real-life lifestyle, habits, routines, to my environment, to my community, and to my systems of belief. Because it's all of those things that created the results of my life, and if I want to get new results, I'm going to have to go change all those things, and so will you. And I'm here each week to help you get those results. You know, I like to point this out. I start every episode of the podcast. It's recorded cold. Like I'm literally right now moving this music slider down with my finger. I think it's important to use repetition at the beginning of every episode to tell you what I truly believe are some of the most important concepts and messages that you can hear. One of them being that failure is okay. Failure's not bad. In fact, failure is a great opportunity to learn things. The more you fail, the more opportunities there are to learn. Failure is a wonderful teacher, and it can be an expensive teacher because failure is not often free. Sometimes failure has quite a high cost, but the cost is the value of that lesson that you're going to get from it. And I'm finding sometimes the greater the failure, the greater the lesson that you can get, that you can apply and use in other parts of your life. But I want to talk about a specific failure that you might have fallen victim to. And that's been your failure to join my free Facebook group, the Becoming Thin Facebook group. If you're not a part of that, you need to become a part of that. Head on over to Facebook, search for Becoming Thin Community. You should find it right there, or you can find a link to it in the show notes. And of course, you can go to becomingthin.com, and that will take you right to the page where you can get some resources. The other thing I'd like to tell you about, I'm planning to do an event next month. And I would love to invite you to it. I don't have the details ready to announce to you yet, but I just wanted to let you know that it's coming. Make sure you're subscribed or following or somehow getting the podcast, or you're in my free Facebook group, because I'll be sure to announce the details there for how you can attend. It's going to be a multi-day event. I hold nothing back. We usually have a large turnout for these. I wasn't planning to do it, but this year I'm feeling the heavy grief feelings about my dad, who passed away in June. And who's really the thing that kicked off everything that's led me here. If I've given you any value at any point, I owe it to him. And so I want to pay it forward and honor him. And I want to deliver again in a completely new and updated version, the mindset of weight loss. So if you want to know when the mindset of weight loss is going to happen, be sure to listen here. Now, this week, I want to speak to a specific kind of person. I always have a specific person in mind, but I don't always call it out. But today, I want to specifically say who I'm talking to. I'm talking to somebody that is over 300 pounds. I'm talking to somebody who has struggled with getting the weight off, but more importantly, with keeping the weight off. Who seems like as time goes on, the weight never goes down, and it only ever seems to go up. And you're looking around, you're 300, 350, 400, 450 pounds, maybe even higher. And you're thinking like, I don't think it's possible for me to become thin. Like I'm still here listening, Chris. I'm still hanging on, but like I barely believe that I could do this. I don't even actually think I barely believe it. I'm hanging on to hope that maybe I could potentially, possibly one day believe it. I'm talking to you. I know that it seems impossible to lose all this weight. I know. You might not even know how much you weigh. You might not even own a scale that's capable of telling you. Or you might have long ago let your scale vanish to somewhere, or the batteries are dead. Last time you went to the doctor and you asked not to be shown the number, you don't even know. You know, I didn't know how much I weighed at my beginning. I long ago had stopped getting on the scale. I didn't want to know that number, because if I knew that number, I also knew I was going to feel something. I was going to feel disappointed at what I had done. and I was going to feel very complicated feelings because I felt like there was nothing I could do. I felt like my lot in life, you know how some people are born to a rich family? Some of these kids are born rich. They didn't have to do anything. Congratulations, old Stewie over here. You're born on third base acting like you hit a triple, right? Those of us that are bigger and struggle with our weight, you know, we're there at our biggest and we're like, man, I'm just dealt the worst, shittiest hand ever. There's nothing I can do. Other people are meant to live in thin bodies, but I'm not. You might be feeling like that, right? And I did. And so when I'd see this number, it's like having my nose rubbed in it. It'd be like being born into a poor home, into a poor community, and constantly having my nose rubbed in how much I don't have, right? And I'm like a kid. There's nothing I could do about it. That's not a good feeling. So I just want you to know, when you avoid the number, I get it. I get why you don't want to go look at it. I didn't want to look at the number either. Not at all. Because I didn't like the feelings that I was going to feel when I would look at that number. But I want you to know, it is possible. You don't have to believe it's possible for it to be possible, thankfully. Because otherwise I never would have made it. I didn't believe it was possible, and yet here I am. I've done it. I've lost all the weight, and I've been keeping it off, so clearly I was wrong. There always must be a first time. Well, maybe you just haven't had your first time yet. The only reason why I know it's possible, and maybe you don't fully know that yet, is because I know something about you. It's also true about me. I didn't used to know this. I actually had to learn something. And I want to tell you now, in case nobody's ever told you what I'm about to tell you, I hope someone has, but if no one's told you this, I'm glad I'm going to tell you now. You're not broken. You're not fat because you're broken. You were conditioned. You were conditioned to be and live a certain way through all sorts of different factors, many of them against your will. Humans are easy to recondition. We just use repetition and time. And that's the beauty here. Why I know it's possible that you can lose all this weight and get it off. It's because you were conditioned to live life a certain way. And when we're conditioned to live life a certain way, it feels like we can't change. It feels like our baseline programming. It feels like just the way it is. But conditioning can be changed through reconditioning. And I want to tell you just a very, very short version of a very long, complicated story on how I learned this. And I want to be clear, this is going to be a slightly religious topic. I don't normally want to wander into it, but it's my truth. It's my reality. And I can't share with you certain things if I omit my reality. So I'd like to tell you about my deconstruction of being Mormon. I was born into a Mormon household in the 80s, and I was raised Mormon. Everyone of power and influence in my life was Mormon. All of my friends, my parents' friends, the kids I hung out with for the most part, were Mormon. All the values that I was told was right and wrong were those of the Mormon variety. I spent hours every week interacting with a community that was all Mormon or LDS. And as I grew up in that world, that's just how it was. I believed the doctrines of that religion as much as I believe in gravity. When I hold a ball in my hand and I let go of it, there is not a single shred of doubt in my mind that that ball is going to fall because I know gravity is here and it's working. I can see it. I'm not floating away from the earth. That's how much I believed in the doctrines of that religion. Now, I'm not Mormon anymore. I haven't been Mormon for a long time. But I had to be reconditioned because there were things that had been conditioned into me for so long that when I started having an awakening of sorts and started seeing things a little more clearly, the Mormon church was not ready for the internet. And when the internet came around and I started using Google to get answers to questions I was forbidden to ask, I started getting answers to questions I had never asked before. And these answers didn't make sense. This is very similar to how it is when you're living life as a big person. When you've always struggled with your weight your whole life, when you've been conditioned to believe that you're just a fat person like I did, there's certain questions you just don't even ask. You don't even feel like it's okay to ask them. So you don't. And also you don't ask certain questions because you don't want to know the answers. Because what would it mean? What would it mean? What would it mean if you actually could lose all the weight and get it off forever? What would that mean? If you could do it right now. Let's go back to the thing that began my deconstruction of Mormonism. I began to have these doubts that maybe the way I'm living isn't the way I want to keep living. But I believed many things that were true. And then somebody posed this thought experiment to me. They said, if I had an envelope in front of you, and in this envelope was the truth, it would say the Mormon church is real or the Mormon church is not. Would you open it? And when that was posed to me, I froze because instantly I knew the answer. The answer was, no, I would not open that envelope. I had doubts, but I wouldn't have opened the envelope. Why? Because if the answer in that envelope was the Mormon church is not true, it's not real, if that was the answer, then that means, crap, I got to make changes. I can't be part of a religion that isn't true. I'm not going to be. I guess I could be. I'm just not going to be. I'm certainly not going to live my life opposite of the way I want to live because this church is telling me to do it. Again, I know this is a religious topic, but this is very similar. I'm telling you, I've done both. I've had a Mormonism religion deconstruction and I've had an obesity deconstruction. It's the same. I'm just deconstructing different things. But you see, eventually, that thought experiment, the answer became yes. I'd want to know. And I decided I'm going to set off on a journey of discovering truth regardless of where it takes me, even if the truth causes destruction of what I believe is my reality. And I lost an entire way of living. My lifestyles, my habits, my routines, my environment, my community, my belief systems all changed as I began to deconstruct my conditioning. The way I live my life doesn't look like the way I lived it when I was Mormon. The way I live my life as a thin person doesn't look like the way I lived it when I was fat. The way I talk to myself as a Mormon doesn't match the way I talk to myself now. The way I talk to myself as a fat person doesn't match the way I talk to myself now as a thin person. The way I talk to myself as an unhappy person doesn't match the way I talk to myself as a happy person. You see, reconditioning takes time. All these ways of living, the way you're living your life is what's creating your weight problem, your weight gaining problem, not your weight loss problem, your weight gaining problem. Yes, I know you want to lose the weight, but that's only a temporary problem. The real problem is the weight keeps coming back. And reconditioning requires time for it to work because you need repetition. You need repetition. You got to do it the new way again and again and again and again. And you have to let the old ways starve out. I've sung the line from the song From a Star is Born many times here on the podcast. Maybe it's time to let the old ways die. Maybe it's time to let the old ways die. See, maybe it's time to let your old ways of living die. But then immediately the next line, takes a lot to change a man, hell, it takes a lot to try. Maybe it's time to let the old ways die. It takes a lot. It takes so much to change. And that's why time is our most valuable tool at our disposal. Many of us, what we do is we make the fatal mistake of letting time pass us by and having nothing to show for it. We just let another month go by with zero progress, not 1% progress, 0% progress. But time, when paired with just a teeny bit of action, allows you to make progress over time. Do a little something every day, a little more than before. And I started thinking about this at the beginning of my journey that, like, wait a minute, somebody posed this thought to me. Like, if you just read one page out of a book a day, that's 365 pages. And odds are you'll probably read more than one page on some days. So if you just commit to reading one page of a book a day, over the course of a year, you're going to have read a lot. And I got to think, I'm like, well, that's true. You know, if you're trying to write something, one page, one paragraph every day, by the end of the year, you've written a lot. I was wanting to get better at writing at the time. And I was like, well, let's just practice writing. I wanted to become a much more talented public speaker. So I looked at public speakers and said, how much do they speak in a year? And like, okay, they do 12 to 20 presentations a year. I was like, okay, cool. I'll do 12 to 20 presentations a month. And I get a year's worth of experience in 1 month. And then if I do it for 6 months, I get 6 years worth of reps. It's like, why let it take so long? Because I'm not trying to make big changes. I'm trying to make little changes, but repeat them over a big period of time. Many people are trying to find some extraordinary change they can do that right away. Where I'm thinking like, no, find some real simple thing you can do and then do it for an extraordinarily long period of time. That is what will unlock so much potential. This is how I actually trained for my first marathon. I know you've probably never run a marathon. I know I hadn't either until I lost my weight. And I had no idea what it looks like to train for a marathon. Like, how does a person go from running 0 miles to running a marathon in a year, which is what I did? How does a person do that? Actually, it was less than a year. It wasn't even quite a year. From 0 miles to running a marathon. I actually went from 0 miles to running a 50K, which is over 31 miles. And you know how I did it? I started by run walking a quarter mile. I ran walked a quarter mile. And then I ran walked a half mile. And then I got to where I could run walk a mile. And then I got where I could run, like without walking, a half mile. I still remember running my first half mile because it wasn't but just a few years ago. I very much remember it. It was a big deal to me. But I'm looking at these other people running. My sister at the time was ramping up her training, and she was now getting up to like the 10, 11 mile range, which in my mind was like, what? You can go 10 miles? But she lived a half mile almost exactly from my house. And my sister and her husband were runners, and they were my mentors and models in this journey. And I still remember when I ran to her house, I was exhausted. I was hot. I was like, can I get some water? Like, I'm feeling like I've run a long ways. Now I'm realizing a half mile was like, you don't even, for a distance runner, you don't warm up till like mile 4. And so you got to run like 3 or 4 miles before it starts to feel good. And I'm like, oh, I've run a half mile. But to me, this was huge. And my sister knew enough. She knew where I was going to know, like, yeah, that's important. That's worthy of celebration. Because before I was running none miles. Now I just ran a half mile. She gave me a little water, let me take the water bottle with me because it's hot. It's in the summer. And I ran home. And I ran a mile. I did have that break, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I remember running her to her house and back because I learned it was a mile. Then I found another route, 1.5 miles. And then I made my way up to 2 miles. I still remember the first time I hit 2 miles. And then, I've been hearing about this runner's high. I ain't never experienced it yet. I hadn't had this runner's high. Because you remember, like, to me, I used to be a fat guy. Like, the idea of running was the thing I teased people for. I was like, running is dumb. And here I am. I've lost all the weight and I'm in shape. And I'm like, running is fun. Life's trippy. You have no idea where you'll be in the future. Especially when you're in a different body. Things that you don't like when you're in a big body, you'll be surprised how many things you're willing to admit. Actually, I've kind of always been a little curious about it. But I didn't want to admit. It's just my body won't do it. So it's just easier to say I don't want to do it rather than be like, I want to do it, but my body won't let me. Like, if I say that too many times, I'm going to have to do something about it. And I didn't want to do anything about it. So I just be like, nah, running's dumb. Anyway, let's get back to the story. So I'm working my way up now to 3 miles because I'm hearing like past 3 miles, you get this runner's high. And I remember the first time getting a runner's high after 3 miles. I'm like, this is amazing. I remember running 4 miles. 4 miles. That's over a 5K. And then I got to 5 miles. 5 miles was a big one for me. Like, it was hard to get to 5 miles. I finally, one time, the way I did it is I just ran 2.5 miles away in a straight line. Like, the only option was to come back 2.5 miles. So I was like, I'm covering 5 miles either way. But I just slowly and steadily over time stepped up my mileage, stepped up my volume, taking rest when needed, because it wasn't up, 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 up. It would be up, 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 down, 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 up, 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 down, 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 up, 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 down, down, down. Like, I'm always peaking, recovering, peaking, recovering, peaking, recovering. And I just gradually worked my way up to running a marathon by just taking little tiny changes. That's exactly what it's going to be like for you on your weight loss journey. Exactly what it's going to be like. You're going to just start by making some little teeny tiny changes that to somebody that doesn't get it is going to be like, really? That's a big deal? But to somebody that gets it, it's like, really? That's a big deal that you did that. Like, you went on a 10-minute walk after work today, like just for shits and giggles? That's a big deal. Because I know that for you, you have done that precisely 0 times in the last 5 years. Like, this is a big deal. Now, is it going to be a trend? I don't know. One time does not a trend make. But a trend's got to start with a 1. And if you do it another time this week, that's 2 times this week. If you do it another time this week, that's 3 times this week. You have just gone from walking 0 10-minute walks in a week for the last 5 years to you've taken 3 10-minute walks. That's 30 minutes of walking that you just put into your life that you've never put into your life in the last 5 years. That's a big deal. That's a sign of progress. That's a sign of transformation, of change. That's why it's so important, by the way, when you've decided, those of you that are over 300 pounds and you're going to change, don't go talking about this with other people. Unless they're OSPs. That's a term I use. Acronym stands for only supportive people. Only talk about your journey and your goal and your dream with people that are supportive of you and what you're doing. That's it. Only talk to them. And wow, because then when you talk to them like, hey, I went on 3 10-minute walks this week. It's like, I'm really excited about that. I've not done that before. You need to have somebody's reaction be like, what? Really? That's fantastic. How's it feel? What do you think? Like, are you going to do it again? Like, you want that kind of vibe. You know, you need people like, this is a sign. Good things are coming for you. Something's changing. This is really cool. You need that. What you don't need is like, that's it? That's all you've done? You don't need that. Especially you don't need that because I know for a lot of you, your brain's already doing that. your brain's already like, that's it? That's all you've done? And you're like, gosh, brain, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. I'm very happy about this. You see, when you set off to make these changes, there's some forces within you, within your own mind, that are going to be pushing back against you, trying to prevent your progress. And that's why you got to be careful who you talk to your journey about. Because if you're not careful, some of these other people will feed these forces energy and they'll get you stuck. Now, I can't tell you, I don't got time today to tell you about all of them, but I can tell you about 2 of them. I can tell you about 2 forces that you're likely to run into if you're over 300 pounds and wanting to start your journey. Yeah, these will get you. The first one, I mean, you probably already know about the first one, but it's called perfectionism. You see, when you go to try to change, especially if you've north 300 pounds and you've been battling weight this whole time, you know, it's likely that you've probably done a diet in the past where you were trying to melt the weight off that was probably a bit more extreme. You probably attempted like, how can I solve this problem fast? And so you've conditioned your mind that you should be losing weight quickly and that you should be making all these extreme changes. You were conditioned to believe that. Remember what I said though about conditioning? You're not broken, you're conditioned. You're conditioned to approach weight loss like a dieter. Just like I was. We have to reject that. We have to reject the diet paradigm and say, I'm not going to do that. Because what's going to happen is when you're like, all right, I'm rejecting it. I'm going to do what this Chris Terrell guy says, and I'm going to start slow. I'm going to start easy. Your brain is going to come in behind you and say things like,
I don't think you're doing enough.
And you're like, what? What? I'm doing plenty.
Yeah, you could have done a lot more, and you know it.
And you're like, what? No, like you're going to already have this in your mind. So imagine if you got this other voice being like,
You're not doing good enough.
You got that in your mind and you go to somebody else and they're like, that's it? You're going to feel like the crazy person because now it's 2 against 1. The side of you that's wanting to change is you're like, well, I already got this side of me that's telling me I'm not doing good enough. And this person over here, this person's skinny and in shape. They seem like they know what they're talking about. They're telling me I'm not doing enough either. Oh, no, I'm probably not doing enough. I should probably go do more. And then you go do more. And then eventually you get, you hear the other voice. It's like,
this is too much. You need to stop.
And you're like, oh, yeah, I should probably stop. This is too much. And you go to talk to people like, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling like this is too much. And they're probably like, yeah, you should probably stop. That seems like pretty bad. You don't seem like you're wanting to do that. And the voice is like,
yes, listen to them. Let's stop.
And you're like, oh, what's voice? You were the one telling me to do more, but I just need to stop and just quit. And that perfectionism voice will just compel you to stop. And you'll just give up. You'll just quit. Or that voice, you might get the other version of that voice where it's like,
You see what you did there? That was like messy. You're supposed to do it perfect.
And you're like, what? But this Chris Terrell guy keeps telling me like, I don't got to do it perfect. He just, he didn't tell me that. And he's figured it out. And it's like, and the voice
like, yeah, but what does he know? Look at him. He's skinny. He don't know.
And you're like, oh, no, I got to do it perfect. And then again, you go talk to somebody that's not supportive of your goal. And they're like, I mean, you could have done more here, and here. The first things out of their mouth are where you could have done better. And already now they've just echoed that disempowering voice in your head. And they're like,
See? Told you you could do more. You should do more. You're not doing perfect. Maybe you should just not do it at all.
and you're just like, no. This perfectionism voice is just going to be there. And if you go talk to people that aren't supportive of you, it's going to feed that voice because I know you're already fighting it off. You're already trying to prevent that voice from taking over. So let me give you some tips here to how to combat that voice. Because if you echo the voice, it's going to have more power. And if it gets too much power, it's going to kill your dream and you're not going to want to work on it anymore. And you're going to stay stuck here and you're going to be 2 years into the future going, if only I had just started. And I don't want you to think that. I want you to start now. But I know that perfectionism voice is going to show up. So one of the things you do, so when the voice shows up and it's like,
you're not doing good enough.
You say, 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing. And the voice is going to be like,
well, yeah, but it's not perfect. You need to do it right.
And you're like, look, 50% done imperfectly is better than 100% done, or 50% of something done imperfectly is still better than doing nothing to perfection. You just keep reminding yourself of that. Doing nothing is a surefire way to get me nothing. At least if I'm trying, I run the risk of getting lucky. A broke clock is right twice a day. And so it's like, let's just try. Let's just keep going. Although I wonder, do the young kids understand the broke clock twice a day thing? Because I've just realized my stepkids, they don't like to use clocks with hands on it. I just thought about that. Anyway, still a good reference. So that perfection voice is going to show up. Make sure to counter it. And the other thing to remind your voice is when the voice is like,
you should be doing more.
Remind yourself that 10 steps forward and 8 steps back means you wasted 8 steps of energy that you didn't need to take. What if you just took 2 steps forward and then stopped? Just 2 steps forward and that's it. And then the voice can be like,
yeah, but you could have taken 10.
Yes, voice, but I can't sustain it. If I take 10, I'm going to go backwards after because I don't know how to I don't know how to sustain this change. I don't know how to sustain an hour a day of walking. I don't even have an hour a day. I know if people might think I do, but I'm very busy. I don't. I've got 10 minutes a day.
Well, 10 minutes isn't good enough. You'll never lose weight with only 10 minutes.
Voice, I'm not doing just 10 minutes. I'm doing 10 minutes times 7. That's 70 minutes. Are you telling me 70 minutes is meaningless?
Well, but you could do 80.
Yes, voice, I understand I can do 80, and at some point I will. But right now, I was doing none. I've gone from none minutes a week to 70 minutes a week. You're going to have this conversation in your head. But if you have supportive people that get your goal, like how my sister was when I was running, they're going to be like, this is awesome. This is great. How you doing? Keep going. You're going to keep going, right? Because then when that perfection voice is like,
yeah, don't listen to their encouragement that makes you feel good.
You're like, yeah, voice, you make me feel bad. They make me feel good. I think I'm going to listen to them. Because in the beginning of your journey, your headspace is going to feel challenging at times. Mine did. Mine felt nuts. And so let's talk about the second voice that shows up in your head. This one's a little sneaky. And this one's a little scary because this voice is the voice of self-doubt. You see, the voice of self-doubt is going to show up in your mind more than likely. If you are north of 300 pounds, the odds of you setting off on this journey and not having self-doubt are damn near zero. And if you say you don't have any self-doubt, I'm going to be perfectly honest, I think you're lying to yourself. Some people have zero self-doubt. I just haven't met one yet. It might be limited self-doubt. You see, it's not that the self-doubt is the problem. The problem is the self-doubt shows up and you don't respond to it in a way that's empowering. You let the self-doubt win. Many of us are like, how do I lose weight and not have self-doubt? How do I not experience self-doubt? It's like, no, you're going to experience self-doubt. You're asking the wrong question. It's not how do I prevent myself from experiencing self-doubt? It's what do I do when I'm doubting myself? That's the better question because we can't stop the self-doubt. It's going to arrive, and it's not always going to arrive in a way that makes sense. Sometimes it will, but not always. But what's going to happen is you're going to be doing something, and it's going to start getting hard. Like, let's say you've decided you're going to work out 3 times a week for 20 minutes, And you're going to only eat when you're hungry, but you're noticing in the evenings, like, oh, you're really wanting to eat food. You're like, but I'm not hungry, but I really want to have food. And oh, what do I want to do? And so you're holding back and you're feeling like a way about it. Like, you're like, I know I'm not hungry, but I really want to eat this food. And then you hear, like, am I depriving myself? And then you hear this other voice, like,
dude, you're depriving yourself. Don't deprive me.
You're like, oh, yeah, I don't want to deprive myself. That probably wouldn't be good.
That would be a disorder if you deprive yourself.
Yeah, that'd be a disorder. I don't want to develop an eating disorder. I should probably go eat something. It's like, wait, what just happened there? What just happened there? Why did I just end up doing this? Why did I just go get the food? And then you're sitting there and you're getting the food and the voice shows up and the voice is like,
doesn't that taste so good?
Oh yeah, that food, it tastes so good.
Why would you give this up?
Yeah, I don't think I want to give this up. This feels really good.
If you give it up, you'll fail.
And I don't want to fail. I don't want to be a failure.
Every time you fail.
Oh, it's true. Every diet I've ever done in the past, I've always failed. And then I gain the weight back. And that hurts. I don't like that. I don't like that feeling. I don't know what to do.
You have PCOS. There's nothing you can do. Might as well just be happy and have the food.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm going to be fat anyway, why would I be fat and give up all the foods that I love? Like, if I'm going to be fat anyway, I might as well have all the foods I love, right? Might as well. You see, this other voice, is actually just your fear talking.
I'm not fear.
Yes, you are. You are just my fear talking to me, voice. Your fear, here's the crazy thing about your fear, is it doesn't want you to feel like a failure out of self-love, out of self-preservation. Your fear cares about you. Your fear doesn't want you to get your hopes up and say, yeah, I want to be thin, healthy, happy, and in shape. And then you hit a setback, and you've already got that perfectionism voice saying,
you're not doing good enough.
And you're like, oh, I'm really doing good enough. And the voice is like,
yeah, but that food is going to make you feel so good, and you feel so stressed.
Yeah, I do feel so stressed, voice. And I'm not doing good enough. One night won't hurt.
That's right. One night won't hurt.
Yeah, one night won't hurt. I can just have a little bit. One won't be a problem.
Yeah, one won't be a problem.
And you have one, and one turns into two, and then I didn't gain all my weight back overnight. And then it's like, the voices are like, hey, you didn't gain your weight back yesterday. Why don't you have a little more food today? Again, you're probably going to fail anyway. You're going to have this in your mind. Don't be alarmed when it shows up. Be prepared for when it shows up. And the way you do that is by having supportive people in your corner that you can talk to when you're feeling doubtful. Now, I know many of you don't have any supportive people in your home. For some of you, your romantic partner is literally a part of the problem. They don't mean it to be, and I'm sure it's not meant that way, but for many of you, your partner, if you look at them, they're just as big as you, or bigger, or on their way to being your size. They eat too much food too. They have a weight problem just like you. And if they're not trying to change, they might not be supportive. They might be supportive, but they might not. And unfortunately, for many people, they're not. For many people, their parents are very unsupportive. Often our biggest saboteurs are those that are close to us. So you might need to find other supportive people. Now, that's why I created a community, the Guild, so you can come find people there. That's why I created the free Facebook group, so you can find people there. But it goes beyond that. I have it where people can work with me directly. But maybe you find a coach, you find a mentor, you find somebody you can learn from. I also found it was very helpful to talk to other people that were already thin and already took care of their body. They didn't understand my struggles, but I discovered they were a wealth of information. I could learn so much from them. I could see a different way of seeing something. so I could compare their perspective on it to mine, where I'm like, man, I'm having a hard time exercising. I'm feeling really unmotivated. And so my brain's like,
Well, you might as well give up. You're not doing it perfect.
I'm like, well, that's one way to see it, mind. So I go talk to somebody that's been working out for 10 years. I'm like, do you ever feel this way? They're like, oh, yeah, I'm totally unmotivated sometimes. It's like, what do you do? And they're like, oh, well, I mean, I still go. I may not go. It may be a little bit more of a battle. I may not work out very hard. I might not even be there very long. Like I might, I was going to go do a big hard set, but I'm just not feeling it. So I may just go walk on the treadmill for 30 minutes because at least I'm there. I mean, I can't let the habit die. And I like it. I like the break. I like the mental, like if I'm really stressed, like honestly, I need the exercise more than ever, but I'm not always motivated to go. So I'm hearing people tell things to me like that. And I'm like, voice, why do I got to be motivated, right?
Because you're a perfectionist, don't you know?
All right, I'm a perfectionist. Now that's a topic for another day about self-image. You're not a perfectionist. It's just a belief system you've adopted. And you can adopt a different one. But we tell ourselves, I'm a perfectionist. You're not. You weren't born one. You were conditioned to be one. And you could condition yourself to not be one. That's what I did. It was worked out a lot better for my life. So I hope this episode helps. I'm going to go and wrap up here. Don't give up on yourself, no matter what size you are. It doesn't matter. If you're over 300 pounds, yeah, you got a bit of a journey ahead of you. But you know that already. And that's okay. That's okay. Enjoy the journey. Find a community of people that makes you feel good about yourself and hang on to them dearly. You're going to need them on this journey. Find a wealth of resources. I'm trying to provide you with as many as I can. I got all the podcast episodes. I got my social media. I've got guides on my website. I've got communities. I'm trying to help everybody as best as I can, as many people as I can. But there's other people like me that are out there fighting the battle. And as much as I would love for you to engage with my stuff, there's plenty of things out there. I just want you to get the help you need in the way you need it. And I want to help you keep going because I know the number one killer of progress is quitting. And I don't want you to quit. I want you to keep going. Get up one more time than you fall. If you always commit to getting up and moving forward, you'll make it. Reframe failure. Don't look at failure as a bad thing. Winners know that failure is a good thing. You want to fail early. Fail as early as you can. Fail as often as you can. And keep doing it because every failure contains within it a lesson. So fail, take a look at the failure, get the lesson, and then apply it to your life as quickly as you can. And then rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. And in a couple of years, you'll need a telescope to see where you are. You'll be so far away from where you've started because when you pair small action and repetition with time, gosh, the transformation potentials are huge, huge. So many people are unwilling to do that. And if you just decide you're going to be willing to do it, you're going to transform. And to those of you that are over 300 pounds, this journey is going to require a deep level of transformation that will ripple out into so far beyond your life. It's hard to even comprehend just how much this is going to improve your life if you do it the slow, steady way and you transform yourself. I don't want you to lose the weight. I want you to outgrow it. All right. See you next week on the Becoming Thin podcast.